So, you want to master verb conjugation in Arabic. This lesson is for you. Hello everyone, welcome back to a new grammar lesson. Today I want to establish the mindset needed for conjugating verbs in Arabic. Before starting the conjugation journey, there are some important concepts you need to master to prevent any confusion. The outline of this lesson is going to be as following. First, we will have a look at classifications of verbs in Arabic. Second, we will see which classification to focus on when looking at conjugation. We will also learn how to get the radicals of a verb. We will examine the differences between regular and irregular verbs, and we will practice conjugating the intact regular verb الفعل الصحيح السالم. Hello friends, welcome back to Arabic for Nuns. This is Mustafa Nasser again. If you want to see more of my videos, please subscribe my channel, activate the bell and like the video. Let's go! Verbs in Arabic is a wide topic with many branches and classifications. Classifications of verbs in Arabic are plenty based on many criteria. For instance, we have classification based on the tense, past, present, or command. A classification based on whether it's intransitive, لازم, or transitive, متعدي. Verbs can also be classified as basic, مجرد, or derived, مزيد. Active and passive, المبني للمعلوم والمبني للمجهول. Declinable and indeclinable, الجامد والمتصرف. And lastly, we have a classification based on the construction of the verb, regular, صحيح, or irregular, معتل. Too many, right? When dealing with verb conjugation, we only focus on the construction of the verb together with the tense, of course. There are two main types regarding verb construction, regular, صحيح, and irregular, معتل. Sometimes they're also called sound and unsound verbs. Let's define the irregular verb first. It's a verb whose one or two of its radicals is a defective letter. Defective letters in Arabic are called حروف العلة, and they are three: alif, waw, and ya. Mostly, every verb has three radicals that are the three original letters from which the verb has been derived. The majority of verbs are extracted out of three radicals that take the measure فعل, فعل. So, if one of the three original letters of a verb is a defective letter, alif, waw, or ya, we call the verb irregular, معتل. The regular verb, on the other hand, it's a verb whose radicals are free of any defective letter. But what are the original letters of a verb, or the radicals, and how can we identify them? There are some steps through which we can reach the three original letters of a verb. First, get the verb back to the past tense. So if you have a verb like يكتب, one might see letter ya and say, oh, this is a defective letter, so this verb is irregular. No, this is wrong. Return it first to the past tense, كتب. Now we have three letters taking the measure فعل. So these are the three radicals of this verb, and as long as they don't have a defective letter among them, so this verb is regular, صحيح. The second step is to strip away any extra letters. Some verbs, when you get their past, you might see more than three letters, like كتب. In this case, the second letter, alif, is extra. So we need to remove it to have our measure, كتب, having the same tone as فعل. The verb كتب is derived from the verb كتب, and as long as letter alif is extra, not original, so this verb is regular. Now, how can we differentiate between the original letter and the extra one? There are two signs. First, the extra letters that might join verbs are gathered in the word سألتمونيها. So if you see a past verb that contains more than 3 letters, mostly there are some extra letters involved, and you can check them from this word. The second sign through which you can differentiate between the original and extra letters in a verb is to check various derivations of the verb, and you will find that the 3 original letters are present in all of them. Let's take this verb we had before, كتب. We can derive many verbs out of this one, like كاتب, استكتب. Other tenses can be also taken out, يكتب, اكتب. Lots of nouns can also be derived, such as مكتوب, كاتب, كتاب. And the passive of this verb is كتب. Here we can see that the 3 original letters are common in all these words, which are كاف, تاء, and باء. So these are the 3 radicals of this verb because they are present in all its derivations. Another example, يستمع. This is a present verb. We cannot indicate its type unless we return it back to the past first. The past is استمع. But still, we have more than 3 letters. Let's remove the extra letters, ألف and تاء. Remain سمع. To be more sure that these are the 3 radicals, try to derive many words out of this verb, like سمع, استمع, يستمع, استمع, اسمع, سماع, سميع, سامع, مسموع. All of them contain the 3 letters س, م, ع. So these are the verb's radicals. And as long as they don't contain a defective letter, the verb is regular, صحيح. Sometimes whenever you get the verb to the past, you might see 4 original letters. Like this one, يزلزل. The past is زلزل. We see 4 letters here. Are they all original? Let's check by deriving some words and see. زلزل, يزلزل, زلزال, زلزل, مزلزل, مزلزل. As you can see, the 4 letters found in the past of this verb are present in all its derivations. So these 4 letters are original. But this is not common. The majority of verbs contain only 3 radicals. A last example, the verb يمشي. This is present. Get it back to the past, مشى. Here are the 3 radicals of the verb. And as you see, we have ألف, which takes the format of a shortened ألف, ألف مقصورة. ألف, as we know, is a defective letter. So this verb is irregular, معتل. Just for your information, any original ألف in a verb is not actually ألف. It's either ياء or واو. This ألف in the verb مشى, it's originally ياء. One of the ways to make sure of that is to get the present of the verb, يمشي. So this ألف in مشى is transformed from ياء. And in either ways, both ألف and ياء are defective letters. We will get to this topic in some advanced lesson. So here is the first level of classification based on the construction of the verb, regular, صحيح, and irregular, معتل. There are subclasses for each one of these 2. The regular verb is subdivided into 3 categories. مهموز, which means a verb that contains همزة as one of its radicals. Duplicated, مضاعف, which contains 2 identical letters among its radicals. And lastly, intact, سالم, that neither contains همزة nor duplication in its original letters. Let's take them one by one. The first one, الصحيح المهموز. is the verb whose one of its radicals is hamza. And we need to clarify a confusion here. We mean by hamza this letter, not the alif. Alif like this is a defective letter. And once you see it among the radicals of a verb, it means this verb is irregular. On the other hand, hamza contains this shape. Either you see it on top of alif or in any other form of hamza that we know. Let's have this example, سأل. This is a past form, and it has 3 letters on the measure فعل. We do see a hamza here, so this verb first is a regular verb as it doesn't contain any defective letter, and second, it is mahmuz because it contains hamza originally. The second type, the duplicated, al-muda'af, which contains a duplication. Under this type, we have 2 other subdivisions. The triple duplicated, al-muda'af al-thulathi, and this one contains 3 original letters in which 2 of them are identical. The normal duplication is present here that has the label shadda. In this verb, both the second and the third letters of the verb are identical, such as madda, hazza, shadda. Let's untie the duplication. They become madada, hazaza, shadada. As we said, the second letter is identical to the third. These 3 verbs are regular duplicated, صحيح مضاعف. Regular because they don't contain any defective letters, and duplicated because they contain one of the duplication forms, shadda. The second type of duplicated verbs is the quadruple duplicated, al-muda'af al-ruba'i. In this type, the verb contains 4 original letters, like the example we looked at previously, zalzala. Here, the 4 letters are original, as we explained, and you cannot see a shadda label. So why do we call it duplicated? Because the first and the third letters are similar, zay, and also the second and the fourth are the same, lam. Another examples, damdama, as'asa, qahqaha. 2 couples of identical letters show up again. The last type of regular verbs is the intact, as-salim, and this is a verb that contains neither hamza nor duplication among its radicals, and it represents the majority of regular verbs like jalasa, kataba, shariba, kharaja, and so on. So the first thing to check for regularity in verbs is to make sure it doesn't have a defective letter. If not, check for duplication. If not, check for hamza, and lastly, if it doesn't contain any of these 3, it is a regular intact verb. Now, let's look at the irregular verb. It has 2 classifications: irregular that contains only 1 defective letter, and irregular with 2 defective letters. And then each one of them is further divided into subclasses. The first one has 3 different categories based on the position of the defective letter among the verb's radicals. First, al-mithal, in which the first letter of the verb is a defective letter, like waqafa, wasala, ya'isa. In this type, letter alif cannot show up in the beginning. It's either waw or ya. Alif cannot show up in the beginning of a verb as a defective letter. Some might say, well, there are some verbs that begin with alif, such as istakhraja, istamala. This alif here is not original, it's extra, because the radicals of these 2 verbs are خرج and عمل. The second type is أجوف. From its name, it contains the defective letter in the middle, such as قام, صام, نام. The last one is called ناقص. In this verb, the third letter is defective, like سعى, دعا, بكى. So the first category is irregular with only one defective letter. It is divided based on the position of this defective letter in the verb, whether it is in the beginning, in the middle, or at the end. The second classification of irregular verbs is a verb that contains two defective letters. We call this one لفيف, and it has two subdivisions. لفيف مقرون is when the two defective letters are adjacent, mostly the second and the third, like طوى, أوى. And the second subdivision is called لفيف مفروق, which has two separate defective letters as the first and the third letters of the verb, such as وعى and وقى. Don't care much about the names of these divisions. It's enough to know how irregular verbs are classified. First level of classification is how many defective letters in a verb, one or two. If it has one, where it is located, in the beginning, in the middle, or at the end, and if they are two, are they adjacent or separate? This symbol. So that is the final picture of verb construction in Arabic. First level of classification is regular or irregular verbs. We simply differentiate between them by looking at defective letters. And we learned how to check the verb radicals for defective letters. Then there are subclasses for each type as we explained. So why this classification is important in verb conjugation? In other words, why do we need to indicate the type exactly, regular or irregular, before conjugating the verb? Well, if you recall from the previous lesson, verb conjugation is nothing but adding suffixes and prefixes to the verb, so its construction will change according to the added pronouns, and so will its pronunciation. Regular verbs undergo little deformation comparing to the irregular verbs. And every time we conjugate a verb, we need to modify its construction based on its type. That's why indicating the type is really important. You will be happy to know that almost all types of regular verbs don't witness much change when conjugating them, except adding the suffix or the prefix of conjugation, especially the regular intact, الصحيح السالم, whose construction remains intact regardless of the conjugation it takes. That's why we call it intact in the first place, as its construction keeps its shape before and after conjugation. There are some little exceptions with the triple duplicated and al-mahmuz. Apart from that, conjugating regular verbs is the easiest. In the next video, we will learn how to conjugate regular verbs in the past tense, and we will open a detailed discussion about the types of pronouns we add to the verb during conjugation. I hope this video was useful to you and it's better to rewatch it again. Don't forget to subscribe my channel, activate the bell and like the video. See you in the next lesson.